On this episode of Beer Blues BS, Kidder and I are joined by the legendary Phil Parker. We get to find out, how's retirement treating him? What's he up to these days? Kidder and him are going to reminisce about their days in radio and tell some stories. It's a really great time with a lot of laughs. Phil unfortunately couldn't stay the whole show, but don't worry, Kidder and I stay on. We talk for a bit about the Royal Rumble, some final thoughts on that. We also chat about a couple of controversies. And hey, the local geek shared an interesting story with us. What is it? What happened? Well, you'll have to just stay and watch. But don't worry, you're in a good place. Welcome to the show.
It's Howard Blues and V. Mark Kidder. Work all beverage, porpoises, enjoy time with friends.
Triple B! Well, the Triple B sucks. Okay? Come on.
Whatever, man. This is Beer, Blues, and BS. Online at beerbluesbs.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beer, Blues, and BS, the podcast with a heart of gold, but an exoskeleton of dented aluminum. I'm your host, Howard Blues, here, as always, with my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the Mark Kidder. Kidder, how you doing tonight?
Well, Howie Blues, with that kind of introduction, I feel at least silver. So we're going for the basement tonight. But you know what? I know, as we were talking before the show, and you let me know earlier today and yesterday, you're not quite feeling 100%. And I know we gotta be 150 million% to really top this show off. And so, I said, what could be better? What could be better on a Friday night than hanging out with one good buddy, but having a second and not allowing them to kick in the damn door of the bar because we know that thing is barely hanging on the way it is. So I brought him in the front door, not the back door, and we're here. I'm proud to bring in the first time to the Triple B, the one and only Phil Parker.
Welcome. Good evening.
How
are you doing?
Man, it's an honor to have you on the show. We've had a couple distinguished guests on the show, but nobody who actually knows what they're doing as much as you do. So we're glad to have you here.
I'm not a podcast veteran though. I'm a rookie podcaster. This is all new to me.
No. The best thing about this, you don't have to push any buttons to make sure that you actually go on the air. It's just here.
It's a little weird. I'm not in control like the old days.
Yeah. Were we ever in control? Let's be honest.
Yeah, you got a point there. Not completely.
So we're kind of doing a little bit of the inside baseball is what they say. But Phil Parker, radio legend, really across the country from top to bottom and in most Canadian provinces. Phil, you got to tell us, who the hell is Phil Parker?
I'm trying to find myself. That's well, I don't know. I'm an old retired radio guy now living in Columbus, Indiana. With as you might have heard before, I retired. That we had to move here for reasons regarding my wife's health, kind of, and we also had a daughter and grandkids who live down here. So we're struggling through winter. We had a 27-degree day today, and the Arctic blast that life came to a
polar
stand.
vortex.
The polar vortex. That's right. Yeah, the Siberian Express. What is it? The bomb? The bomb cyclone.
Bomb cyclones. And we have atmospheric rivers now.
Yeah. So anyway, we're down here now, and I spend my time doing a little bit of this, on occasion with some voice stuff, and not much time. I don't get up at 4 a.m. anymore. Haven't.
Dang.
Haven't said my digital alarm is still set to go off at 4 if I ever to bother to turn that on, but I haven't yet. So I haven't done that, and I spent some time doing. We've had a lot of projects with this house we got down here, so that's been a lot of effort. Other than that, I've got my little hobbies I like to do: build model airplanes and do a little golf and rating antique malls like we do on occasion down here. So. it's life is good.
I'm happy to hear that everything went in the right direction and that it wasn't for the Witless Protection Program.
No.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. I'm honored that you grace us with your presence, and this may look a little familiar to you, but yes.
Well, there it is. All right. Hey, Mark Kidder.
Living large on the Triple B set. So
the Mark Kidder.
And
don't you forget it.
Don't you forget it. So it's great to have you on, because now we can finally legitimately tell both of those stories of where that came from and the second part of the. But obviously, before we get to the storytelling, the best part of the show, at least the fan favorite, I think, is what's on tap.
Ooh.
So, you being our guest tonight, Mr. Parker, what do you have on tap? I
just happen to have a Frosty mug sitting here.
Oh, where did that come from?
How weird, huh?
This is insane.
So now this is where you actually review these beers and tell what you're tasting and all that, right? We go into great detail about that.
You can go in depth as you want. Yes. Tell us
okay,
about.
How about let's see. My choices are Grain Belt, Blatz, or Bud Light. What do you want?
Well, Howard's been on a Grain Belt kick lately, and the funny thing is we haven't had any Canadian beers on the show yet. And I mean, so really, you can go just mix all three of them. It'll be fine.
Actually, here's my real choices. Now, one day out shopping. This is during the Christmas season. Did you guys see this where they had the Advent calendar collection of beer? Did you see this?
I missed that one. No.
Oh, okay. Here's the deal. Okay, this is at the Giant Warehouse store. I won't say names because they're not buying advertising in your show.
Thank you very much.
So it was very reasonably priced. So they had 24 different beers in this pack for like $17. It was clearance price. Okay, I'm a clearance guy. What can I say? So anyway, here's a couple of them. Just the regular New England style pale ale. We have the Vienna Lager. We also, let's see, back in my mini fridge still, I have a cranberry one, a pumpkin spice one, which I'm saving for the wife. She gets to have that. But there was 1,000, there's 24 different flavors. So that was a lot of fun, and most of it's gone, as you might expect. And then I found this one recently, which has become one of my favorites. This is another seasonable one from Youngling, and this is a Hershey's chocolate beer. Have you tried that yet?
That's right up Howard's alley. He loves the chocolate beers.
So yeah, it's this is a good one. Have you tried this one, Howard?
No, I have not. He was mostly being sarcastic about the liking chocolate beers.
Oh man, I love them. But you know what? What can I say? I love chocolate. So, but I haven't tried the Vienna Lager, so perhaps I'll try one of these. Okay,
go for it.
We'll try the Vienna Lager. Am I pouring that correctly? Unfortunately, it's been out of the freezer long, so it doesn't have that frosted mug where you don't get the little ice chunks on the side. There you go. Cheers, folks.
Cheers, Phil. And after you get that first sip there...
I review this then?
Yeah, review it. Tell us all about it. Tell us what's in it.
Just kidding. No. Actually, it's I like it. It's Vienna Lager. It's got a little taste of Vienna sausages, just a little hint of Vienna sausages, as you might expect in something like that. A little taste of Whorehound candy. Have you ever had Whorehound candy? Just a little hint of that.
Very specific taste, yes.
I think I tasted a ladybug leg, just a little teeny one. It just kind of gives a little body. Very bubbly, and I taste a lot of bubbles, and it's cold. So
would you say that it would be good to drink if you're out celebrating a Super Bowl from some team out of Wisconsin?
I would think so. Absolutely. I would absolutely think so.
I love it.
So there we go.
Now you got to get some Vienna sausages real quick, right out of the freezer, and just start dunking them
Vienna
into there.
sausages and beer. Well, what do you guys have?
Howard, what do you got tonight?
Well, since I unfortunately am fighting a bug and such, I'm not getting to drink any fun alcohol, so I'm just settling for a 1919 root beer. So
1919 root beer.
I love it.
it's about the best I could do. Plus, I was out of brisk tea, so yeah, the local geek will be disappointed.
Well, give us the
Nothing
facts
wrong
on
with
it.
root beer.
I was just talking about 1919 earlier today. Give us the goods.
Yeah, so it's a really good root beer. I'm trying to remember where it's out of. Yeah, it's out of New Ulm, Minnesota. So that's really all they had give you on the can, but yeah, it's a decent root beer.
A fun fact for you: it's made by Grain Belt at their Grain Belt facilities.
Hey, did not know that. The more you know.
Yeah, I love it. Okay.
I
Well,
used to love Grain Belt Premium. That stuff's pretty good, actually.
We like
Back when I was.
we like it.
Mm-hmm. And what was the Grain Belt one too? They had that they came out with a few years ago. It was a newer one. What was that?
It was a blueberry ale.
Oh, I had never had that.
Howard didn't like it, but I loved it.
No, they had another one. It was real common, but it was something, one of their newer products.
Oh, they had
But
Northeast as well.
I think that might have been it.
That was like the pale ale version that's supposed to be
pretty
very
good.
like Scandinavian or something. But
Yeah, I did kind of like that.
I haven't had that one, especially on this show. I think I've only tried it once. Tonight, though, going to Colorado and the New Belgium Brewing Company with the 1554. I believe
That's
I've had
aged
this.
well.
Yes, especially over all of these centuries.
That beer's 700 years old.
And it's only 6% alcohol. I don't know how they do it. But it's surprisingly, even for that old, it's only 12 fluid ounces. Let's see here. What are anything else? It's part of the Belgian collection. So this came all the way across the sea from Belgium to New Belgium. So very, very excited about that. And then they claim to have brewed it in Fort Collins, Colorado, or Asheville, North Carolina.
They claim. So they say.
And guess what? It's surprisingly bright taste with a dry, chocolatey finish. And it's an enlightened dark ale,
chocolate. There we go.
brewed with spice. So we'll put that into the North Dakota Fighting Sioux Yeti.
Ooh, there we go.
Drop that in there, and that's a cheap plug for the old Fighting Sioux, as always, because
Who are they playing this weekend?
there's no effing Hawks. Let's see. Hold on. Hold.
Oh, come on,
Hold.
kidder. I thought you'd know off the
Hold.
top of your head.
They're
You
not
shouldn't have
playing
to look
tonight.
this up.
They're apparently not playing tonight. Unless they are. And then
Of course, I was telling you, that was one of my favorite finds. Like I said, we raid antique malls on occasion down here. Was one of the beauties of living down in a place that doesn't do hockey much is I ran across a flag, a fighting Sioux Forever flag, full-size flag at an antique mall here. $2.50, but if you paid with cash, it was $1.75.
wow.
So I had to bring that home, and now that proudly is displayed in my basement.
You have no idea how happy that makes me. And
Yeah.
you sent me the photo, and I'm just, no words.
Oh, and it's great when you live down in a place that doesn't appreciate hockey like we do, because years ago when I worked in Illinois, I worked with a guy. We were doing this public TV auction, and we'd go and help out for a little bit. So he was working one night when I wasn't, and he came back, and the next day came up with this genuine Wayne Gretzky autographed photo and said, "Here you go." And I said, "Oh, thanks. What do I owe you?" He said, "Oh, it cost me a whole $1." So I bid on it and I got it for $1.
$1
for Gretzky.
Thanks. I'll just put that in a photo frame and then put it in the safe.
Unfortunately, it's got creased at some point, but it's still there. I still have it hanging, and I enjoy it. It's awesome.
For the record, the Fighting Sioux are off tonight and tomorrow. They play again in Denver on the 10th and 11th.
Okay.
Which is after this airs. And so the weekend
Denver,
of the
the Fighting
17th,
Omelets.
Yeah. And the former Dasher dancer himself, El Guapo. Coach Gwozdecki, who used to be down there. All 5'2" of him. And he was angry during one game at the Ralph. So he got so hot, he was standing on top of the Dashers, screaming at the officials across the ice. They didn't give him his answer, so he got down off the Dashers, walked across the ice, screamed at the officials until they ejected him and said, "Get the hell out of here." And then he made the walk of shame back across the ice as people were booing him. And that's when we started calling him El Guapo. But
very good. And now you know the rest of the story.
The Fighting Huskies come to town on the 17th and 18th, and then Colorado College on the 24th and 25th.
All right.
So, all right. Now that we've told some stories,
now you got to hear about this beer you've got.
Tell some more stories. Yeah. Maybe those are the notes. Do taste the chocolate. Is very smooth. A little creamy taste to it. So it does have a nice taste. And I think I had tried this on the show before. Local Geek will, of course, make the official determination if I did or not. And overall, I'd give it a solid 3.75 out of 5.
Out of what?
5.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. It's not too bad. It goes down pretty smooth.
The Vienna Lager actually has a very similar taste to Sam Adams Oktoberfest. Would be a very good comparison, which I enjoy. I love that stuff.
For a second, I thought you were going to say salt water, so I'm glad it went a different direction there. I also have to mention, Howard, I think you noticed this, and Phil kind of pointed it out, but he's got the good equipment behind him, and he's using the budget stuff for our show. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I don't really have much for video, so I figured this is the best way to do it.
Love it. Well, that's the next thing. You're going to have to be a correspondent for the Triple B and start giving us excerpts of what you're up to during the week, and then that'll really take off, and we'll get another at least dozen viewers. We have some exciting things to report down here. We had Mike Pence is from Columbus. Although the house where they found his documents wasn't in Columbus, it was near Indianapolis. But I think he still has a house here, so I'll have to go find that house and look and see if I can find some documents. Are they next to the Camaro or the Ferrari or what?
Out in his garage.
In the
exactly.
Garage.
So,
for those of you looking for the political joke, there it is. Now, we move on.
And then, in next a year from April, we've got the total eclipse of the sun coming. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I've always wanted to see one, so that's one good reason to be down. So I may rent my basement out for that. Because people freak out over those things. I mean, they go crazy over those total eclipses.
It's a good thing it's not a total eclipse of the heart, though, because then
that would be sad. Bonnie Tyler.
God rest her soul. Is she alive? Yeah. I don't know.
I have no idea.
We're off to a great start.
So how did you get the name The Mark Kidder? You teased that earlier. Now we're dying to know.
Well, I mean, it does go back a few years because before I had the honor of being a co-host on your show for I don't know, it was a good 6 months, and then they're like, "This is too funny. We have to split them up. We can't have this anymore." I was just Mark Kidder until we got paired together, and then I became the Mark Kidder, and really it's thanks to your show. So we were
Well, it was someone who wrote you, right, and said or something, and they said the Mark Kidder, wasn't it? Something along those lines.
So a friend of mine, originally from Rugby, her dad's a farmer, and she and I went to college together. And her dad, avid radio listener to the station you used to be on, and I used to be on. And it happened to be her birthday. And so, like everybody on my Facebook list, who, especially if I don't remember, but they have it listed, that's their birthday, I'll just wish them a happy birthday. It's a little something to hopefully bring a ray of sunshine into somebody's life. So I did that, and apparently her dad had been, scrolling through Facebook or whatnot and saw my name on there, and then wishing her a happy birthday on her Facebook page. And so he calls her right after he sees this and goes, "Hey, I saw that Mark Kidder wished you a happy birthday on your Facebook page." And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, is that Mark Kidder from the radio? Like, is that the Mark Kidder? And she's like, "Yes, that is the Mark Kidder."
And don't you forget it.
So then she told me, and then we had a good laugh because I don't know, by that time it was probably
that's stuck
8 a.m. and
yes.
What really cemented that piece of it is when you got the voice guy to do the news intro for me. It's the Mark Kidder. Because then it's over. I mean, the voice guy did it, right? You can't argue with the voice guy.
Oh man. We had some fun, and you and I, Mark, we had a lot of fun on that morning show for the time we did it together, and we came across, we did some pretty good bits together, which still they live today. If you go to the iHeart app or Spreaker, if you Google or if you search Phil Parker Show, I've got all my about a year or two's worth of my stuff is on there with bits. And towards the end, I know I replayed our favorite Drizzle Chasers bit. Yeah. So that's right up towards the top of the list. So if you want to check out Drizzle Chasers, it's still there and it will live in infamy. So what was your favorite bit that we did, Mark?
Well, out of the produced ones, I remember the two specifically that we did. The Drizzle Chasers, which I think is really a crowd favorite. And then the second one was the Pilot Car Academy.
I knew you.
Because
pilot cars drivers are hot.
Yeah. Like so hot.
They're so hot. But
it was great.
We had that. And the other one I like was Tornado Safety Week 2 was good. That wasn't bad. But we had some good ones, you and I. We did some good stuff together. We had a lot of fun.
And even interviewing people, of course, you and your relationship with the folks at Lizard Lick Towing in Lizard Lick,
Ron
North
Shirley.
Carolina. Is it North Carolina or South Carolina?
North Carolina. Lizard Lick, North Carolina, yeah.
Yep. So the folks there at Lizard Lick Towing, we interviewed Hot Lips Houlihan.
Yeah, we did. That's right.
And she passed. That interview was super bizarre. I remember after it was done,
that was so weird.
We both looked at each other. What just happened? That was 8 minutes. 8 minutes of radio. I don't know if
I don't know if I have that. Do you still have that interview, or do I?
Oh my gosh. I know my archive in my home office is not what I had at the station.
No, mine neither.
Hopefully I can sneak in there one of these days and do a full database copy of that stuff, because it's still
I'd love that, man, because I went back the other day. Bernie Sanders was doing a thing now where he's doing an arena tour, basically saying, "I hate capitalism." So I was going to post on my I haven't done much posting or anything, but I was going to put on my Phil Parker Show Facebook page which is still there. Bernie's out there, but I had a bit about Bernie. Oh, Bernie Sanders in the book about capitalism, and I thought that would be appropriate, a good time for that. But unfortunately, that one, I have all kinds of other Bernie Sanders bits, but that one I don't have yet. So there's a lot of stuff I don't have. I was able to save a lot of it, but a lot of it's, still in the, what is it? What was it? The Disney vault, the K-Fire vault forever.
Yes. So, it's locked in the vault, and this is the only time it comes out. Don't miss your opportunity to own this, or it will be gone forever.
That's right.
Except on the pirate market. We also interviewed former Sheriff John Bennell, the host of the world's wildest police chase videos.
That's right. That's right. We did. Was that another one of our bits? 9 was it the car? Well, I remember I did the 1-star emergency with the car chase, because you and I always talked about we would love to have an all high-speed car chase cable channel. That was kind of one of our dreams.
A 24/7 channel of police chases.
Because you can't turn away from them, and they never carry them anymore like they used to. But man, you'd be watching cable news and I said, "Oh, let's go to Los Angeles," and you'd see these cars driving, and you couldn't stop watching it until you see what happens. So it's like, boy, just think if you had a 24-hour channel of live car chases, it would be gangbusters.
Howard looks like he's all over it. He's like, I'm in.
Howard's trying to stay awake, it looks like.
Yeah, that's more the truth of it.
It's the NyQuil talking.
It's just like when we were on the air together before.
Exactly.
People listening, trying to stay awake.
We just like to have background noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the basketball highlights.
Mark and I also shared our love of the NBA, didn't we?
Good Lord. LeBron! Shut up.
LeBron. That was one of our favorite games, LeBron or no LeBron. Were you around when we played that?
Oh, yeah.
We'd have listeners with Fox News coming up at the top of the hour at 6 o'clock. Before that, we'd have listeners guess, will Fox News mention LeBron or not? And if they were correct, they'd win a prize. Because during basketball season, about 50% of the newscasts, when you say they managed to sneak LeBron in, whether he was playing or not, they'd say, this guy, LeBron. Chris Webber scored 47 points in Twitter. LeBron James had 12. It's like, well, who cares? Or LeBron James had 12 points. Chris Webber had 47. Anyway. They love their LeBron.
Right?
He will not go away.
So you could probably still play that game today, except now it's, did LeBron actually play last night or not?
You could. Absolutely.
So many games.
Absolutely.
Legitimate sports talk for pretty much once on this show, other than hockey. There you go.
I might go to a hockey game down here, Mark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were 2 hours away from the Columbus Blue Jackets. So my wife and I may venture over February 23rd to see the Wild will be in Columbus for that. So we may do that.
You're repping your Zach Parise jersey?
I may do that.
Which now is a relic of past times.
Because I don't think Columbus is the type of beat you up if you're wearing an opposing jersey town. Like, I'd never go into Eagles Stadium wearing Viking stuff, You can't do that.
I have to tell you, the time that I went to the XL Energy Center and the Avalanche beat the Wild in the shootout, and the whole section around me, and Rude Boy Kyle, the two of us was there. And, of course, Rude Boy Kyle's a Blackhawks fan, so he was wearing his Hawks jersey. And that was the year that the Blackhawks set the longest season start record of undefeated until the Avalanche beat them.
Oh, wow.
Haha. But this was in mid-streak, and everybody's razzing him because, like, we know why he's dressed like an idiot, but why are you here? And he's like, well, because I want to watch some good hockey, and obviously the Hawks are better than your team, and stuff like that. He's wearing a Sioux cap, too, and so we were having a good time. we both of us almost got jumped outside the XL Energy Center too, because of course
Really?
we're running out, in Avs and Hawks gear, and the Wild just lost, and so hey, and we're like we're just walking to our car. We're how many cups have you won? Right. Oh, so we didn't get jumped, thankfully, but that was a good trip. With the Fox News stuff, that's where we came up with the mumbling onto the next story. So you're like, well, I'm kind of none of that little story.
That's where we also came. That's where we also came with our form of communicating. Thanks. Lisa Lacera. Wasn't that Lisa Lacera? Thanks, Mark.
There were a good handful of them. Sabrina Sabah, Fox News Radio.
That's right, Sabrina Sabah.
She was one of them, and Dave Anthony, Fox News Radio. Trying to do it too. But they always came back, and Dave, thanks.
Dave, thanks.
And I kind of wonder if they got that from South Park, because in the smug episode they ran around going thanks, and so in a not
South Park's still alive too, isn't it?
Yes, you get plenty of material from them.
That's crazy.
Thanks.
And
then the other one, because and don't you forget it, with the Mark Kidder.
The Mark Kidder, that's right.
So our former boss and I were filling in because you were on vacation for a couple of weeks doing some things. And
hey, Mark.
Yeah.
We should also, while we're speaking of things, of fond memories, we should one little toast.
Yes.
The man, the legend, the late Orval Baylor, right?
Yep.
You
Orval.
clowns.
You clowns.
Orval passed away Christmas Eve. And Orval was a guy, he's the most powerful man in Zap, North Dakota. He was about 81 years old, I believe, when he passed away. But he was the yearly guy on the Ballard Resort trip we go to fishing, walleye fishing. And we had more fun with that guy than you could imagine. He partied with the rest of them well into his 70s. He was the fact that he made it to 81 is very impressive.
Yeah. I guess he was smoking the straights. I think he was chain smoking the straights, and he'd drink you under the table, and he'd get up before you, and he was a hoot on the trip.
He was quite the guy.
My sadness for the trip when we went up to Ballard's is the day that it was a record high 84 degrees up there.
Got a little dehydrated, Mark.
I kind of looked like your Wild jersey there.
I was trying to tell Mark when we're out there on this hot, still day, drink some water, buddy. Drink the water. Because you're going to pay for it. And
I swear I drank enough, but apparently
not quite.
2 liters was not enough water. Oh. I was spinning, and
you looked a little pasty.
It was bad. I wish that I could have spent that night hanging out with you clowns and listening to Orval tell the stories. But the bus, the 8.5 hour bus ride there and back, or 12 hours was fun. So yeah, cheers to Orval, and Godspeed. Hopefully we'll get to see you on the other side. But
exactly.
I still remember
the walleye will be biting.
When we were taking off. Remember the parking lot? We called in to do a live hit of we're gearing up to go to Ballard's Resort, and we're in the parking lot here by McDonald's. Everybody's loading their gear onto the bus. We're about to take off, and here's Orval Baylor. And you remember that? We had him on the phone.
Oh, absolutely.
And he started, oh, yeah, it's going to be a great time. And both of us look at each other. I hope nobody else got that. It was fun. But, man, rest in peace, Orval. I appreciate the humor.
Yeah.
So the other story there, you were on vacation, and so I was filling in with our former boss, and we were about to go to break, and he's talking about the next segment coming up, but news with Mark Kidder, and I go, oh, hey, that's the Mark Kidder, and don't you forget it. And the look. And dead silence for like 5 seconds. And then hit the brake.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know if he's going to laugh or I'm going to get fired. Live radio, everybody. Will I be here after the next 30 seconds? We don't know.
Oh, too
Find
funny.
out on the other side.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, aside from the fun that we had together, making that 30-second commercial as well, promoting the morning show, and I pulled that up about 6 months ago. I found it somehow, and the humorous thing is I'm standing in the corner or the background somewhere, or sitting in the background in every shot in that commercial. Just there's no reason for it.
Yeah, that's right.
Just standing or sitting in the background.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Not mentioned at all. I'm just there because there's no reason. What else? Let's see.
Avoided professionalism at every possible turn.
We can't have anything, too good, because
no,
we might get syndicated and then we're stuck to rules.
Exactly. I don't want that to happen.
It's like this show. We can't be too good. We might get viewers.
No. You don't want people to have expectations, do you?
Right. But the funny thing with it is we're on all the platforms. So the video version goes on YouTube, and then the audio version goes on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, IMDb, Player FM, Podbean. Did I miss any, Howard?
Yeah, probably one or two, but that's all right.
We're pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and like I said, if you want to catch my old stuff that's still there at the iHeart or Spreaker or whatever, Phil Parker Show, but also I do have a website, which I don't really want. The web address is really right now. It's kind of a new startup thing, so I've linked it to my Phil Parker Show Facebook page, and I've got something new I'm going to put on there on Monday or so. That's a little project I did recently for somebody, and involving. I'll tell you kind of what it is. I had. Someone request, they had some of the birthday coming up. So they said they wanted all the ex-presidents to wish this person a happy birthday. So I said, sure, I'll do that. So I had all the ex-presidents I do. We had Richard Nixon. We had Ronald Reagan. We had Gerald Ford. We had Jimmy Carter. George Bush Jr. and George Bush Sr. All the Bushes there. So we had all the ex-presidents. And they made little comments about this person on their birthday and sung her a happy birthday. And I thought, that's a little idea. If, people want, I'll call them audio bouquets. And they can request the voices. I do, 60, 70 voices. And they can, and these people will wish that person a happy birthday. We'll customize it to that person, They do a little skit, 3 minutes or so. And for about the price of a bouquet of flowers. So that's my cheap plug.
And of course, for those watching or listening, we'll put it in the show notes so you too can get a birthday. Maybe even you too can wish you a happy birthday. Bono's one of your voices, right?
Well, what's that?
Bono?
Bono?
Not quite. From you too, yeah. Oh, all right. Wish you happy birthday. Something.
Oh, there you go. See, you've got Bono. And if I ever need a Bono, I'm giving you a call, Mark. I'll give you a cut, all right?
Great. Sounds good. Finder's fee.
There we go.
So, Phil, over the years, you got to do some cool things, crazy things, exorbitant things. Kind of give us the highlights, the lowlights, and the midlights.
Okay, that's it. It's hard. There's so many highlights. Basically the job every day was a lot of fun. and you never knew. There was always surprises. Got to meet a lot of people you never would have gotten to meet as far as in a lot of other lines of work. So that was a lot of fun. The low lights, I mean, radio was always not a very stable business, even when it supposedly when it was family owned and all those good things. You know, everyone blames corporate radio now. Well, it never really was completely stable because you could always be fired at a moment's notice, and people often were. There were format changes where they would fire entire air staffs, and the air staff would show up to work. Their keys didn't fit, literally. They were booted out the door, and I made it twice getting fired. You're not a true pro until you've been fired 3 times. So unfortunately, I only got fired twice, and so that's one black mark on my career. But the second time I got fired was what led me to Bismarck, which I was fired in the Twin Cities. So that was probably a low. That was a very low point. That was the day I got off the air, and so I'm brought into the office and given the happy news that my services were no longer required. Well, that was the day my first daughter. It was her first day of kindergarten. So my wife spent the whole morning bawling her head off that her baby was off to kindergarten. So she'd just gotten finished crying when I came home and broke the news that I no longer had a job. So that was a tough day there. But we did make it out to Bismarck, and it turned out to be a blessing, as you might say, in disguise. We loved it there, and we of course, we all know that was a K-Fire became my life. Did leave for a couple of years in there, but for the most part, K-Fire was my life. We had a lot of fun, and working with people like Mark Kidder was a gas. Doing things like that, and some of the things we did, like I said, people we interviewed. The people that made us laugh was a lot of fun, like Ron from Lizard Lick or Hot Lips Hooligan was class. Tommy Wiseau, the director. Did you ever see The Room, the worst movie ever made?
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bull. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, man.
Oh, Mark. Okay, here, Mark.
I don't know if I did.
I will send you a link. I know how much you enjoyed the giant spider invasion from Mystery Science Theater. That was one of our Ballard's highlights. Packers!
Watching the movie.
But many people say it is the worst movie of all time. And a gentleman named Tommy Wiseau was the director, producer, and the star of the movie.
Oh,
and just the total awkwardness of the movie can't be believed. So I'll just send you a clip it's about a 5-minute clip of the best of The Room. So you don't have to watch the whole movie, but get the gist of exactly how bad it is. But interviewing him and my son, and The Room actually became a cult classic with college kids. So my son was in college and he became, everyone was jealous of my son because, oh my God, your dad got to interview Tommy Wiseau. So the director of the worst film ever. So yeah, it was, stuff like that was a lot of fun.
It was a great highlight.
It was a blast. So yeah, there were a lot of great moments, and working with a lot of fun people, and the listeners. I mean, the listeners were awesome. That was just that's what kind of made it worth coming to work for, is the listeners, and they were a big part. It was like a big family in a sense.
Yeah, I always loved it when you get the regulars, like the one lady from out west who would call in the 12 birthdays from around the town.
Yep. And
she sounded like she was 120 years old or so already.
Yeah.
And so and you're like, hold on. She's like, and we got so and so, and just keeps going. And you're like, and then you have to put her on pause because you're back on the air. Like, hold on.
Another one of the birthday ones I like. We used to have one from Strasbourg that we call. And she'd call and say, I have a birthday. I have a birthday for you. I said, okay, who's it for? And she'd say, for Cherry. I say, okay, Cherry? No, Cherry. C-H-E-R. No, Cherry. J-E-R-R-Y. Cherry. Oh, Cherry. Okay, I gotcha. But she was one of those who would call every morning for a long time. My favorite caller, though, was one that passed away a few years ago. back in the PMS days. And her name, we called her the Gopher Lady because this elderly woman who would call up and tell us all about her adventures sitting out on her porch and shooting pocket gophers with her shotgun. And she'd give us updates on how many she'd shot that day, and she was very proud of that. So she was a classic. And in fact, in her obituary, it actually did say how much she used to enjoy the Phil and Mark show and calling in and describing her escapades with pocket gophers. So she was awesome.
That's great. And
yeah, well, there were some great listeners.
I wasn't the Mark reference there, even though we had quite the time. And
oh yeah, we did.
In fact, Chief Engineer Larry Johnson said that he enjoyed listening to my news segment because I had a good delivery. And so thanks, Larry.
You did great. And then weather, you were awesome, you know.
I always hated running up against those hard breaks because there's like tornadoes on the ground, storms.
The only hard breaks we really had though was the top of the hour. That was otherwise it was pretty much a free for all.
It was a free for all.
Except when there was, 30 minutes of commercials. You had to squeeze those in.
Yep.
But yeah, we were pretty loose on, this segment will run 5 minutes. Oops, it went 10. Oh.
We had a lot of fun.
We did. We had a great time. Some
of your favorite interviews over the years, the famous or enjoyable.
Oh my, gosh, there's so dang many of them. I think most of them actually. I mean, we did interview a lot of famous people, but there were just people that were a lot of fun. Like I said, Ron from Lizardlick, but he wasn't famous when we first called him. It was surprises that you'd call these people. And there was another one we did back in the 90s. We used to do a game. We'd spell out things. So we'd say 1-800, and then we'd spell something out like 1-800 octopus. So we'd call and see what it did. And we just put them live on the air. We wouldn't ask permission or anything, which eventually got us in a lot of trouble with our boss. You're not asking permission. He would, and that ended that bit. But the best one was we called 1-800 surgeon. I don't know why, but we just wanted to see what happens. Well, it turned out, and I still got the tape of this, literal cassette tape, because it was in the 90s. It was a guy that did, shall we say, enlargement surgery. And he went into great detail on that, which in the 90s, it was a little bit. So, and things like that were a lot of fun, And you call people from festivals like the world's largest hairball down in South Dakota, the curator of that. Things like that were a lot of fun. The Fire Ant Festival in Texas. Those people were a blast. You know what I'm saying? They were so much fun.
That's one that I forgot. When we called Paul Tuttle Sr., we had an interview with him from Orange County Choppers. Hey, it's Paul Tuttle here.
What was that? I don't remember that off the top of my head.
So he was on American Chopper. It's Paul Sr.
Okay,
Paul
gotcha.
Jr. Hey, right. Me and Paulie over there, we started making choppers, and then we kind of fell out for a while, and I put a chair through the window that one time, and it's just crazy, But I enjoyed that. I know for me personally, Jeff Dunham.
Oh, he was a lot of fun.
I spent almost an hour on the phone with him doing an interview.
He was awesome
in the radio days, because at any time he could have been like, "Dude, I got 2 minutes. Like, can I go?" But we were sitting there talking. It was hilarious.
Very friendly guy too. Yeah.
And then, because I even how do you develop your new props and the quote unquote dummies, right? And he said and this is 2013, right? He got a 3D printer. He was actually 3D rendering and then figuring out how he wanted the new characters to look before they're even built. And then he 3D prints them and does touch-ups and things from there. I'm like, that's insane, because 10 years ago, that technology was brand new.
And Ventriloquism was such a talent I just admire. When I watch people do it, I could do the voice thing, but to do that and not move your lips, it's just incredible, and just It's crazy to watch that, and I really admire that. It's something I sure can't do.
You can do it on this show because sometimes it gets out of sync, and so then I mean, basically, you're doing it anyway.
So yeah. But did you ever get nervous when you'd interview someone famous?
There were a couple times when going like right before it, because I'm like, what the hell do I talk to this person about? Because I'm just Joe Schmo radio guy from Bismarck, North Dakota. So like I'm not high on their priority list, but talking to some of the rock bands before they came to the area, I really got comfortable doing that. And then on my birthday, I got to interview Jason Newsted and Mike Mushak. So Jason Newsted used to be the bassist for Metallica. And of course, you know how much I love Metallica. Yeah. And there I was like, I get to interview them.
I know. Did you get tongue-tied at all while you were interviewing them?
Probably.
Yeah. My most embarrassing experience of being tongue-tied, this was when I was first starting out. I was probably 20 years old. And I was working in Esterville, Iowa, my first full-time radio job. But I went to interview the Twins game. They got press passes. And so I went, and I got to go sit in the dugout with Gene Mauch, the then manager of the Twins. And I got to interview John Castino, who was an amazing third baseman who unfortunately his career was shortened because of an injury. But then Gene Mauch was one of the great managers of all time, Major League Baseball. So I'm interviewing Gene Mauch, sitting there on the bench, and I'm asking question, and things are going fine. And then all of a sudden, total blank. I can't think of what I'm going to say. It was like I had nothing. And I know I had a question 2 seconds ago, but all of a sudden I'm just total brain cramp. So I'm just looking at him, and he's got these steely gray eyes just staring at me, like waiting for me to say something. It was like the most awkward It's where I wish they had the reality sound effect, the reality show where they always had that, you know, it was the most awkward 5 or 10 seconds, which seemed like, you know, a minute where I was doing that. And he was just staring at, but that was the worst time I ever. And after that, I said, okay, when I interview someone from now on, I'm writing down 10 questions. I won't need them all, but I'll have them, you know, just in case. And so for several years, I did that. I would not do an interview without writing down several questions so that would never happen again.
I remember, you know, along those lines of kind of a flub or losing your train of thought because you're focusing on what their answer is, and then you forget what the next part is. But I was interviewing a band, and I had done research before they came into the studio. So it's not even over the phone where you can like fake it of like, oh yeah. And this, right. You're just like that, sitting down in person, looking at them. And I'm talking to him. I'm like, yeah, you know, when you did this song and this song, and I forgot or missed the part where he had left / been fired from that band and wasn't with that band anymore, and they had a different singer. And I was like, yeah, I know that. I forgot. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, that's happened to all of us. That's happened to all of us.
Good job, you maroon.
I'm like, how's your mom? She's dead. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, but yeah, it's we all have those moments, and especially 44 years, I'm going to have one or two of those, and I certainly did. So,
or when technology doesn't cooperate,
which can happen. That's right.
Whether it's the board, the computer, the transmitter, the tape deck playing, the computer playing, and now we go here.
Bad about that because that circumstance is beyond your control.
Right.
Well, what can you do? When it was my mess up, I felt bad, but if it was,
I always hated it because it was you're sitting there trying to do the thing, and you're like, why is it doing this thing? Come on,
go. Speaking of technical mess ups, my battery's at about 2% of my phone here, so I think I'm going to have to say happy trails for the night.
Au revoir. Well, Phil, it's been a true honor to have you on the show.
Hey, it's been an honor for me.
You're welcome to belly up to the bar at any time. Come join us. We appreciate you taking time to hang out with us. And I know Howard, he's been laughing on the inside because if he laughs on the outside, he might throw up. So
More like snot shooting out of my nose and gallons. So
about the same effect.
Yeah.
But we'll do it again. And
Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
We got to hit up at least 18 holes of golf and have a couple more beers in memory of Orval. So,
and you know what, Mark? If you're ever looking for a little getaway this time of year when it's not so cold down here, you want a little break from the cold, want to come down and catch a Rockies game at Columbus, let me know. I got a great basement apartment here for you. Come on out. We'll try a couple of beers and we'll give it a go. Hey, you're welcome. The door's open, buddy.
But I appreciate that. That's another arena I need to check off my list. So,
yep.
Looking forward to it. And Phil.
Oh, and those Blue Jackets tickets are cheap. They're about the cheapest in the league. So
I'm good with that, especially with the Stanley Cup champs.
Especially an old retired guy on a fixed income,
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for those basement deals anyway.
Oh, yeah.
We worked in radio. Don't forget
exactly.
it. But
exactly.
It wouldn't be an opportunity at this point of all of this if I wouldn't go, Phil, thanks.
Mark, thanks.
Appreciate you being on, and we'll catch you down the road.
Yeah. Good night, my friend.
God dang. That's hilarious. I love having Phil on the show, and I'm glad that, almost 100 episodes. It took this long, but, he was busy doing radio, and, of course, we do this a complete opposite end of the day than when he was awake. So there was that, and then after retiring, moving, well, you got to get settled. You know how it is. But here we are.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks. Well, I'm on again some point because, well, dang it, we didn't tell all the stories, and they're never done. So,
yeah, no, I'm sure there's a lot more that we could talk about, and it'd be interesting to get his opinion on some of the other normal topics we have on this show. So,
yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And speaking of topics, I mean, we still have some left, and we still have some time left because we haven't been talking for a while yet.
Well, I haven't been talking for a while. You had Phil carried the first half of this show, which I appreciate. Since battling this bug, it's I literally drug my butt out of bed. It's just enough time to get down here and get this set up. So having Phil on at least allowed for me to get a break and be able to hopefully carry through the second half of this show. So
I like it. I like it. I sent you a link earlier today because I came across the article, and one of the topics we'll hit real quick with wrestling, because some interesting things this week with wrestling, especially coming off of Royal Rumble. And if by now you have not seen the results of the Royal Rumble, or you're curious on our take on it, we have that video and audio available. Just go back a couple weeks and watch or listen to our specific review. One of the things was the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. Well, apparently now there's a potential, and I swear this has to be a joke, but there's the potential that there will be a Cinnamon Toast Crunch match at WrestleMania 39. And for me, that asks the question, what in the cinnamon French toast is this? Because why? I mean, it's a sponsorship deal, but allegedly, piece of the sponsorship with that is brand integration. So there is the potential that a surprise or new sponsor will be Cinnamon Toast Crunch at WrestleMania. And they're trying to keep this under wraps in the box for now. But sounds like a sponsorship match will happen at WrestleMania, and so we'll see. Other sponsors for WrestleMania include Pepsi and Take-Two, as well as Mars/Snickers. And we know that the past, 10 years at least, I think Snickers has been a sponsor of WrestleMania. So we will see what happens if it is actually Cinnamon Toast Crunch. First of all, Howard, your thoughts on a sponsored match like that?
Well, here's my interesting takeaway, because I actually read the article while I was laying in bed, because not much else I could do. Did you get to the part of the article, though, Kidder, where not only were they talking about this possible Cinnamon Toast Crunch match at WrestleMania, but they said that there's the possibility of having these sponsored matches in pay-per-views going forward. So this is just the beginning. The doors are open. Anybody, we're going to get crazy themed matches all the time. Hopefully they're better than the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match ended up being. So, which I
don't like it. The theme matches.
It depends on what you do with it. And I've seen mixed reports. Some people were okay with the black lights at the Royal Rumble. Some people were not. Some people said you could still see, so that was great. Other people said it was hard to see. I think a lot of people were turned off by the pointless Uncle Howdy jump stunt at the end. Yeah, I think there was a lot of issues there, but I just worry that this stuff gets to be cheesy, where we get a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch on a pole match,
And here's the funny thing. In NDWF, we already did a Pepsi on a pole match. So literally they'll be stealing our gimmick, but blatantly stealing it instead of just kind of stealing it. They'll actually be stealing our gimmick. It's ridiculous.
Except I'm going to guess that you guys didn't think to trademark Pepsi on a pole match.
I'm sure we can weasel something in there. I mean, we only used it 20 years ago, so. But the other piece of it with the Rumble match, I enjoyed the lighting in the terms that you could actually see them, unlike the horrid, complete red lighting that was there for those matches with the Fiend. So there is that.
I think that there's so much more they could have done with that match that's the sad point. Because when you have black lights like that, it'd have been so easy, depending on what you do, to do some things like body switching and such. If Bray had just worn a mask, that was the only thing that lit up, you could have him on one side of the ring, but then appear on the other side of the ring because you have somebody in the same mask, if that's the only thing glowing. There were things that could have played into that creepy supernatural side of Bray that they could have done if they would have thought it out, and it would have been at least more interesting than just a no DQ match. So I like the idea of the black light. I think there was a lot of possibilities. I just don't think that they thought further into it than that. And that's the sad part.
Yeah. Well, that's how it goes. In a recent interview at CNBC, Nick Khan says he expects WWE to be sold within 3 months. He also mentioned that Vince McMahon would be willing to step down after WWE is sold. Khan also reiterated once again that Vince McMahon is not involved in the creative direction of WWE. And David Farber told Dick Khan that Comcast likely has no interest in buying WWE, potentially ruling them out as one of the suitors to take over ownership of WWE.
Interesting.
Which leaves the Saudi Arabians and NBC Universal. Other than that, wrestling this week, some good matches on Dynamite, and that includes Hangman Page and Jon Moxley. That one was a little brutal, and Moxley got busted open again. Also, Darby Allin versus Samoa Joe for the TNT title. And that was a hardcore match, or their, equivalent, no DQ or no count out or whatever. And Samoa Joe got absolutely destroyed in the face. He ended up getting, it looked like probably 10 plus stitches right across his eyebrow and above the bridge of his nose. And it looked horrible when the photo was showed after the fact, after he got cleaned up and stitched up. But a gruesome match there, and that actually came from getting smoked by the back of the table being thrown onto him. It just bashed his forehead. So that was a crazy match, and he is now once again the TNT champion, and Wardlow showed up again and started beating him up because Wardlow has been out with an injury for a little while there. Other good matches, overall, Dynamite was a good episode. And Monday Night Raw was Raw. Cut it back an hour. Should make some things happen like that. That'd be a lot better, but they won't. Is what it is. Some fallout from the Rumble. Cody cut a pretty good promo at the start of the show. And apparently fallout from the Rumble as well. That Lesnar has some backstage heat because he went off script at the Rumble after he got eliminated with the stuff I was talking about with him hitting the table with the steps and throwing the official over the barricade and things like that.
Huh. Yeah, especially since he made $3 million for the 3 minutes he was in that match. So I can see some people being upset. Here's one kidder that I've been seeing a lot of with the Rumble, and I want your opinion on. Apparently, there's some backlash about the Rumble and the fact that Cody won it. People are complaining that it was very predictable that Cody wins. And yet, if you kind of go before the Rumble, everybody who was talking about it wanted Cody to win.
Yep. There's a bunch of wishy-washy people running their mouths online.
That's kind of how I take it. It's yes, sometimes the Rumble can be predictable, but it kind of depends on the storytelling that you're telling. You have Cody coming back. He left hot. It makes sense. The only other person that people are really clamoring to face Roman Reigns was Sami Zayn, who wasn't in the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done enough to make that interesting, and yeah, I just found that interesting.
I agree, because on those lines with Cody, and I didn't want Cody to win. I had a conversation with a couple coworkers about that and their thoughts, because they're kind of like, I don't know, Cody doesn't seem like he built it up, and the way I explained it is, for me, number one, when Cody left as Stardust, he was stuck in that gimmick. That was what he was given, and I would feel stifled in that, stuck wanting to go somewhere else, wanting to do something else, especially not even being able to change your character. So obviously he wanted out. He went to AEW, and he was part of the executive team. He was part of the leadership. And yeah, you get to develop and have some big storylines compared to like the lower level talent. But when he said that he will never be the world champion in AEW, and he stuck with it, that builds cred with me. He was a TNT champ and other lower level champions, and sure, like you need to build up your brand, help the younger talent, and develop those storylines, and so I'm fine with that. And then when he left because of the disagreements there and the money, he came back to WWE. They let him be Cody and more of his persona, more control over his character. And then the Extreme Rule, or Hell in a Cell, the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view incident happened where he ripped the muscle right off the bone. And you can't fake that. That was real. And most other people would not be allowed to wrestle, and they would not wrestle. He went in, he did it. He wasn't going to mess it up any worse than it already was messed up. Went in, had a hell of a match. Huge props from me, because I can't imagine how much that hurts. I mean, you look at how black and blue and red that whole area was, right? For me, that really brought a lot of respect for me. And so, yeah, I feel he was also hot when he left. He was out on injury. They made sure people didn't forget about him with occasional check-ins or promos. And then they even announced that he was coming back. They didn't say he was number 30. I had mentioned that he shared a post with the number 4. And so I don't know if it was 4 days or if it was number 4 in the Rumble when he would come out. But again, that changed, and that could have been a game day decision. But I give him the credit, and I think he's worked hard enough and long enough and is good enough to be in that main event picture.
Yeah. Well, with that, you jumped right to him with the founding of AEW. It doesn't talk about all of the time that he spent at Impact and in New Japan and such, building this persona that you're seeing now. The suit wearing, Cody. He has spent a long time building this gimmick. So it has been a lot of work, and it's over, and people like it. And so, yeah, the worst thing they could have done was try to change it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
A lot of people, like you're mentioning, they wanted Gunther to win, and I don't feel that he needs to win right now. Yeah, he co-set the record, and he was the MVP of the Rumble, but he's new. He's not that new, but in WWE main roster terms, he and Imperium are pretty new. And he's the Intercontinental Champion. He's still, building the Ring General shtick, and so I don't feel he's in a position to have a main event match yet.
I think he could. I really do think that he could. But I think that you don't need him right now. You have Cody coming back. Cody's hot. Sami Zayn is really hot right now. Kevin Owens is really hot right now. Do you need him in the picture? Not yet. But he's there, and by doing things like having him have a very strong showing in the Rumble, you know what? It's not going to take much to fire him up to a title picture. You don't need him to win the Rumble to be a serious threat. So that's how I look at it.
Sure.
According to Booker T on his own Hall of Fame podcast, which is called the Booker T Hall of Fame podcast, he says his in-ring days are officially over following his appearance in the Royal Rumble. He says, "I'm done, man. I'm done this time. I'm serious. The Rumble this year, it let me know, man. It never gets old, but the old body does. The old body just, you can't push yourself too hard like that. Man's got to know his limitations." So he's calling it quits. So the last in-ring appearance of Booker T at this year's Royal Rumble.
Man, I mean, that's kind of sad, because we don't have that King Booker anymore, or, his other personas. But good for him. I mean, it's time.
Yeah. I mean, better to know when exactly you should hang up the boots instead of doing like Flair. And because I saw recently where Flair made some comments about how he absolutely regrets his last match that he did not that long ago. He didn't like it. He wasn't happy with it, but he's not going to wrestle another one. But it gets to be that. I mean, even if you watched The Undertaker's The Last Ride docuseries, he really struggled with when and what was his last match. And he had a couple that did live up to his expectations. And, well, I got to come back because I can't let that be the last one. So better to recognize that and be done than to, live with that terrible performance as your last match.
It's kind of surprising, too. I mean, it's good that he didn't, but kind of surprising that Ric Flair made it through his last match.
Yeah.
At one point, he passed out during it.
I didn't see it, but I heard that it was really rough. So
and that's how it goes. And that'll probably be this show if we end up having enough money to make it that long. What?
Nothing. Must be the time of the month when the invoices come. You just got the old begging cup out. Please, sir, I want to podcast some more.
Hold on. Please, sir. Please, sir. May I have just a spot of podcasting? I just want one more episode, and maybe another after that. Please, sir.
Well, should we dive into some of these other stories we have?
Let's do just that.
All right. Well, this first one, Kidder, this was what you sent me, so I'll let you talk about this Fat Tire beer controversy.
Yeah, so I find this one interesting, and interesting in the sense of the show talks about beer and alcohol, right? So this is right in our wheelhouse. Well, Fat Tire, as recent as December and into January, changed their recipe for Fat Tire. And not only changed the recipe, they changed the can, and it looks different. I've had Fat Tire. I enjoy Fat Tire. But there are so many people online complaining about the new taste, the new texture, the new bottle, the new can, the new look, the going woke over everything, essentially. And, I mean, the comments go on and on. I don't specifically know how many comments there are, but it literally goes on and on and on, right? And a lot of people, the funny piece about it is when they look at the new can, it looks like the Miller Lite can. So kind of interesting. They changed the classic look of the Fat Tire can and logo to be white with a blue logo and label. So not quite a fan of the look. The second piece, here's what Fat Tire has to say. For more than 30 years, Fat Tire's introduced an entire generation of drinkers to craft beer. Oh, it's a craft beer. And shown up time and again as a leader on climate, including as America's first certified carbon neutral beer. But as both craft beer and the climate crisis have evolved, it's time for Fat Tire to change too. Today, we're officially launching a reimagined Fat Tire, including a bold new design and modernized recipe to help inspire the next generation around better beer and a better planet. Fat Tire now tastes crisper and brighter and sports a new fresh look, all with the goal mobilizing more beer drinkers to join us in a movement to protect our planet. Whether you love great beer, love our planet, or both, we hope you'll give it a try. People went off big time on this flagship beer that is no longer the beer that it was. I mean, even the original, they changed the original bottle where it had just the bike on the front, and then they changed it to essentially just the text Fat Tire. And now in the new iteration, that is literally a ripoff of the Miller Lite can. And I looking at the pictures and the comparison, it now looks, instead of kind of an amber ale, it looks like a light beer. And that's not Fat Tire. You know, when you order a Fat Tire, you expect a nice golden ale and that aroma and finish. And now you're getting a Bud Light. I mean, I love Bud Light, and Howard loves a good Bud Light too. But if you're in the mood for a Fat Tire and somebody brings you, you know, a Coors Light or a Miller Lite, I didn't pay $10 to get this. And it's interesting because, you know, we're always talking about controversy on the show, and man, it's beer and it's controversial, so damn it, we got to talk about it.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting story, and don't know what to think. You kind of would hate to, you know, change your beers, you know, like the recipe, because people, you know, you get to be a fan of something. You want it to taste the same every time. I want to know when I pick up this can of 1919 root beer that it's going to taste like every other can of 1919 root beer I've ever had. You don't want that change. So it's like when they did like New Coke. People didn't like it because you changed the recipe. So it seems like a bad move, like a very bad move.
Yep. It's true. A lot of people were referencing the New Coke thing too. Hey, look what this major corporation did. How did it turn out for them? Oh, very poorly. Right. I don't know. I'm sure some people were actually interested in trying it, or actually liked the new recipe of Coke. And if I ever tried it, I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't think I ever tried it either. So, yeah.
No.
Well, Kidder, I see your controversy, and I'll meet you with another controversy.
Ooh.
Yeah. This controversy follows the YouTuber Mr. Beast. Have you ever heard of Mr. Beast, Kidder?
I want to say yes, but I don't know. So
Okay.
enlighten me.
So Mr. Beast is currently the biggest YouTuber content creator on YouTube. He's got close to 100 million subscribers. He's going to be the first YouTube billionaire. He's produces a lot of different content over a lot of different channels. But one of the things is that he's part of his career has been built up on charity. One of his first viral videos was giving $10,000 to a homeless guy. So he's done a lot of charity things. One of his channels is Mr. Beast Philanthropy. It's dedicated to all of the his efforts. I mean, he has bought out whole grocery stores and donated all of the food to food pantries. I mean, he's done some amazing stuff. So he had a new video that came out where he basically paid for a procedure for 1,000 people around the world to basically cure their blindness. Basically, and I'm not the medical professional in the Blues household. That would be Lefty. But basically, what this does is takes with the lens. It kind of gets cloudy, and basically it sucks out the cloudy stuff and builds an artificial lens. It's like a 10-minute procedure, but it can restore vision. And so he paid for 1,000 people around the world to get, to regain sight. And now he's getting called out for it. People are attacking him because, they say you are doing this stunt only to build your brand. That's why you're doing this. It's so you could grow your brand and appear like a nice guy. It's which I just find crazy. The guy paid, for 1,000 people to be able to see. And on top of that, I've watched the video. Not only did he do that, but he gave a couple of people who were very hard up $10,000 out of that video. He had one young man who wanted to be able to see so he could buy a car so he could drive. And Mr. Beast surprised him by buying him a Tesla. It was like a very generous video. And does it grow his brand? Sure. People are going to look at it and go, yeah, cool that he's doing this charity work. But yeah, I find it sad how people are attacking him, basically overdoing it. Some people have made the point, like, isn't it kind of sad that we have a procedure that can cure some forms of blindness and we put it behind a paywall? And it's like, well, yes, but at the same time, doctors have to pay for the equipment to do it, and their time makes sense, But I've just kind of been laughing at that controversy because it's kind of ridiculous that somebody could do something for so many people and get criticized for it. And he actually had a pretty good tweet report to it, if I can find it real fast. So this is what Mr. Beast wrote on Twitter. Rich people should help others with their money. Me. Okay, I'll use my money to help people, and I promise to give away all my money before I die. Every single penny. Twitter. Mr. Beast is bad. So, yeah. I mean, this guy, Kidder, as I said, he's going to be probably the first YouTube billionaire. He's so obsessed with his work and such. He doesn't own a house. He bought a warehouse to be his studio and his offices, and he basically put a small apartment into his office. Like, he that's where he lives, is in his warehouse. He doesn't have he's not one of these YouTubers who's made it big and buys the big $1 million mansion and the fancy cars and any of that. No, he lives a very minimalist lifestyle. And most of the money he makes, he either puts back into his company to make his stuff better, or he does charity work with it. So it's just kind of interesting. I've watched quite a few of his videos. They're all right. They're entertaining. They're decent. So,
yeah, that's why we can't have nice things. People,
it just makes me sad. Makes me sad.
I mean, even if we took a nice, I don't know, $5,000-$10,000 to help this show stay afloat, I mean, that'd be all right. Keep us on the air for another couple of years.
The thing that nobody is begging for.
I guess when you put it that way. Did Local Geek send us some controversy?
Not a controversy. He sent us a fun story, though. I don't know if you read it.
I did not have a moment to read it.
Well,
I was, just so you know what I was doing, I was reminiscing on Groundhog Day, the movie, which was Groundhog Day yesterday. Punxsutawney Phil saw a shadow. Of course, we're getting 6 more weeks of winter, but you do have to remember that, okay, campers, rise and shine. Don't forget your boots because it's cold out there today. It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach? Not hardly. And, you could expect to travel later today with that, that blizzard thing. That blizzard thing. Oh, well, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing. Yes, they are. But, there's another reason why today's especially exciting. Especially cold. Okay, but there's a big question on everybody's lips. On their chapped lips, right? Do you think Phil is going to come out and see his shadow? Punxsutawney Phil, that's right, woodchuck chuckers, it's Groundhog Day! Okay. you were saying?
I was wondering how long it was going to be before you worked that in. Because you did it last year, too.
And I didn't screw it up this year. We're making progress.
Yeah. So the Local Geek sent us an article. It's titled, "That's Not Australia. New Yorker books trip to wrong Sydney, ends up in Billings."
Yes.
This was written by Haley Monaco. Just to credit the actual writer of this as I read it. A long-awaited dream vacation was in Kingsley Burnett's future, a cruise departing from Sydney, Australia. The New York man could barely contain his excitement on the first leg of his trip until he looked out the window of his airplane. "I saw a mountaintop covered in white snow. At that point, I knew I was in trouble," said 62-year-old Burnett on Wednesday. When he touched down in Billings last week, the snow was the small. When he touched down in Billings last week, the snow and the small Cape Air jet waiting to take him to Sydney, Montana, were the giveaways that he made a mistake. "It's a matter of acronyms. The SYD as opposed to SDY. Somebody has to fix that," he said, referring to the airport codes used to each destination. SYD is Australia and SDY is Eastern Montana. Burnett said he was trying to be frugal when purchasing the tickets and should have focused more on the final destination rather than booking the cheaper flight. With no need to head to Sydney, Burnett instead went to the American Airlines ticket desk in Billings and met Carol Castellano. He was really funny. Kingsley came and he goes, "I've got a problem," Castellano said. She took him away from the desk, sat him down, and helped him out. He wouldn't have made it to the correct Sydney in time to catch his full cruise. So Castellano instead booked him a flight home and a hotel room at the Boot Hill Inn for the night. And he rescheduled his trip to Australia for June. For Carol, it was not a paycheck. it was a human being she was dealing with, Burnett said. After his night billings, it was time for him to head back to the airport. The general manager of the Boot Hill Inn, Shelley Mann, was happy to help Burnett get back to catch his flight. It goes on from there. But yes, basically he booked the wrong Sydney and ended up in Montana instead of Australia. So, yeah, a fun story from the local geek.
The bigger question is, what did he end up doing in Sydney, Montana?
Well, if you were listening, he didn't actually go to Sydney. He stopped and stayed in Billings.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to book him a flight the next day to go back to New York.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Proof that Kidder wasn't really listening to what Howard was reading.
I read it once. At some point. How is this show still on the air? Oh, right. The first half. That was good.
Yeah. Kidder used all of his focus in that first half. He's on cruise mode the rest of the way. He's like, I'm phoning it in from here.
Yeah. The phone just got hung up. It's just done. Gosh.
Kidder, it's only like 8:10. Normally we would wouldn't start recording for like another hour. So
maybe that's why. This time last week I was just leaving work.
I was gonna say, did you not get into like your pre-show nap?
No time for naps. And you know what happens when I nap? My head hurts and it feels like a bus ran me over and then back over the top of me.
Well, Kidder, we've been talking for quite a while, and I feel the sickness getting heavy on me again. I know it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode, but we should probably wrap this thing up. And to do that, it's time for us to give some plugs.
Maybe even not so cheap tonight.
I mean, we could do the cheap version, but figured we had Phil on, so might want to step it up a notch.
Right. Okay. Well, you right now, this very second, you have the opportunity to listen because we already are about to give our giveaway, but you have to be entered by pretty much when this comes out to win the free pint glass. Am I doing my math right, Howard Blues?
I think so, but you know what? I'm hopped up on cold med, so who knows?
So this airs on February 17th, and yes, that
means it's too late at this point by the time they see it.
But who's going to win? Who could it be? Who won the pint glass? Find out.
I don't know.
When do they find out? 100th episode.
Yep.
It's right around the corner. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, we're literally 2 weeks from it. 2 weeks. 100th episode. It's crazy. This is insane. But
yeah,
we finally made it to 100 real episodes. Real what? Well, that's a question for you to answer. So, while I'm saying all of this, please go visit us on our Facebook page. Like us there. Visit our Instagram page. Like us there. Subscribe. Go to our YouTube page. Like us there. And iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher FM, IMDb, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are also on Pandora and probably a few others, including Podbean. So if you're on an audio service, if you like to listen to podcasts on the various services, and if you've made it this far, perhaps on the video version, thank you. But if you have any of those services, please search for us, Beer, Blues, and BS. Click subscribe and share us for free. We appreciate it. Sharing the episodes on your Facebook page or your Instagram page or any of the other social medias that are out there helps us get the word out. And we certainly do appreciate you helping us get the word out to other people because, well, sharing is caring. And I mean, a quality episode like the first half of this episode, that is the perfect chance to get more fun to more people. So help us by helping yourself. Share it all over the place. And while you're at it, visit beerbluesbs.com. Beerbluesbs.com. On there, you can see all the info about the show. You can listen to the audio versions of the shows right there on the page. Plus, you can visit our merch store, get some quality merchandise just like this Triple B glass right there. Beerbluesbs.com. Click on merch. And while you're there, you can also buy us a beer because, as you can see from my Triple B beer fridge here, well, I'm running out of stock. I got to go fill up at some point here in the near future. And so how can you help us? Well, go to beerbluesbs.com and click the Buy Us a Beer button right there on the homepage or right at the top in the menu. $2, $5, $100. Buy us a round. It's up to you. If you want to even donate just $1, that's totally fine too. Buy us a shot of beer. Beerbluesbs.com. You can even leave a message in the message bar or box there and then submit that with it. We'll share it right here on the screen and talk about you for sharing with the show. And so we are looking forward to hearing from you right there on beerbluesbs.com. So that pretty much covers it. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of the above. If you want to email us, you can email me, Kidder, at beerbluesbs.com. He's Howard at beerbluesbs.com. We also have Rude Boy Kyle and Brother Nico. Their information coming up soon right here on the closing portion of the credits of this episode. So I suppose it's about that time. Let's put a nifty little bow on this quality episode for Howard Blues, who's under the weather. I'm the man, the myth, legend, Mark Kidder, controlling the weather because I'm the king of convection. Make sure your glass is at least half full. There's free beer tomorrow, and we will catch you on down that thawing Tuscan highway. Have a good one. See you in the next episode of Beer, Blues, and BS.
You have been listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and BS. If you enjoyed the show, help others find out about it by rating the show or leaving a review at your podcast listening service of choice. Thanks for listening, and may your glass never be empty. UA Productions presents A Glimpse Behind the Curtain.
We had some good ones. A couple of roof shakers. Trying to figure out what I want. All right. Anyway, so we'll open it up and then we'll introduce you, and then it can become the Phil Parker show.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, since I know you've seen all the episodes, you know that we usually go for like 2 hours, so don't feel obligated to stay for the whole time.
Yeah, I might make it about half that. So, besides that, I forgot to. We were out running errands all day, so my battery on my phone is not real high. So I only probably have a limited time here.
Sure. Do you have a webcam on your computer you want to fire up before we start, or?
I don't know. I've never used it. I just got this computer.
Oh.
I just bought it.
Oh, well.
So
sweet. It's good for voice work.
Yep. I needed something a little better. And I found this thing on clearance at Sam's Club it's 12 gigabytes. And it was normally like $1,000, about 900 and some bucks. They had a clearance. It was the last one for $290 something. And yeah, so and then I looked up on Amazon. Yeah, they're all going for about 900 and some. So I got a pretty good deal on that. Like, we'll take it.
Bargain basement shopping at its finest.
It was garage sale, man. It was great.
Awesome.